10 Best Picks presents the top 10 best CPU for gaming. Starting at number 10. AMD Ryzen 5 3600X6 Core. If you are a mid-tier streamer or gamer looking for a decent processor that costs you less but provides more value, then you must consider Ryzen 5 3600X. It competes with some high-end processors like Intel's i7 to 9700K at lower price point. However, it is not better than Intel's i7 to 9700K, but still it beats i7 to 9900K in some scenarios. The processor comes with 6 cores and 12 threads. The multi-core performance of 3600X is excellent enough for multitasking. As compared to its prior model, the 3600X is a better option with higher clock speed. The base clock frequency of this processor stands at 3.8 GHz, while max boost clock frequency is up to 4.4 GHz. The processor is unlocked for overclocking purposes, but AMD clearly states that they are not responsible for any damage caused by overclocking. Furthermore, it supports dual-channel memory at 3200 MHz for non-interrupted performance. The processor is made from TSMC 7nm FinFET process. The TDP for 3600X is 95W, and maximum temperatures can reach 95 degrees centigrade. Wraith Spire coolers come with the CPU to keep its temperatures maintained. However, it is highly recommended to use a better cooler if you are going to overclock your processor. Considering all its qualities, AMD Ryzen 5 3600X is a good choice for new gamers and streamers. The streaming will smooth on most platforms using popular software like OBS Studio. At number 9. AMD Ryzen 5 3606 Core. AMD's Ryzen 5 series has some excellent processors, still being loved by new gamers and streamers. Ryzen 5 3600 processor is another great choice with magnificent processing power and amazing multitasking compatibility. The processor features 6 cores with 12 threads. Each core is optimized to give its best possible performance. The base clock frequency of this processor is 3.2 GHz, which can be boosted up to 4.2 GHz. Overclocking is also unlocked on this processor. However, AMD clearly mentions that they are not responsible for any damage caused by processor overclocking. The processor comes with a Wraith Stealth cooler that keeps the CPU temperatures maintained. If you are going to overclock your CPU, then you must consider some water cooling system, because Wraith Stealth is not made for overclocking purposes, and it is not probably useful in overclocking conditions. AMD used their traditional AM4 socket for this processor as well. The total 3 lira cache of this processor is 32 MB, which is quite decent. It also supports dual-channel memory at 3200 MHz. The CPU is overall excellent for gaming and streaming purposes, but heavy editing seems to be a little difficult with a 6-core processor. You can pair this processor with some best AMD GPUs to maximize your gaming experience at 1080p to 1440p. It will also smoothly stream your games at a quality higher than 720p. Number 8 of my list. AMD Ryzen 7 3700X8 Core. The Ryzen 7 3700X is slightly a less powered processor than Ryzen 7 3800X, however it is cheaper than 3800X, but performance-wise, it almost stands equal with 3800X. So, if budget is your main concern, and you need equal processing power as 3800X at a cheaper price, then 3700X is a considerable option for you. This processor has 8 cores with 16 threads. The processor is from the Zen 3rd Gen lineup, but it doesn't make it inferior to other generations. It is still considered a good processor for beginners in gaming and new streamers. The base clock frequency of this processor is 3.6 GHz, which can be boosted up to 4.4 GHz. The processor can be overclocked, and its overclocking feature is unlocked by AMD, but they do not take any guarantee of damage caused by overclocking. The CPU comes with a Wraith Prism LED cooler that keeps the temperatures maintained. The maximum temperatures of this CPU can rise up to 95 degrees centigrade. If you are going to overclock Ryzen 7 3700X, then you must go with a better cooling solution to prevent any damage. The processor is also ideal to play and stream most of the online multiplayer games. You can pair this processor with a high-end graphics card to optimize your gaming performance. The processor also performs pretty well in streaming with its 8 cores and 16 threads. The high-powered multi-core makes multitasking easy. Overall, it's a considerable option for that mid-tier, new gamers or streamers having a low budget, looking for the best value for money processor. Coming at number 7. AMD Ryzen 7 3800X 8-core. Are you low on budget, looking for a streaming processor? Ryzen 7 series brings you one of the most economical, yet powerful 3800X processors with 8 cores and 16 threads that defines its immense processing power. The processor uses AM4 socket. It has a base frequency of 3.9 GHz which can be boosted up to 4.5 GHz. The single-core performance of this processor is also pretty decent. You can also overclock it at your own risk, while AMD allows you to enable overclocking, but they do not take guarantee of any damage. The processor comes with Wraith Prism cooler, but for overclocking, you need something better. If you are going to overclock the CPU, then look for a separate cooler that can keep the temperatures maintained without causing any damage to the CPU. This processor is also from the Zen 2 lineup, and it features a 32 MB of 3 Lira cache for best performance. The processor provides value for money, and streamers, gamers, editors can use it to perform their heavy load tasks. However, there are still better options available by Ryzen, but considering your budget, Ryzen 7 3800X might be your best choice. The multi-core performance is also excellent if we consider the price. It is capable of streaming your games at 1080p. After pairing it with a decent GPU, you can play games at 1440p and 4K quality. At number 6. Intel Core i9-9900K need excessive processing power enough to run your games smoothly while streaming on various platforms? Check this Core i9-9900K monster processor that comes with 8 cores and 16 threads. The processor performs far better than other high-end processors by Ryzen. The base frequency of this processor stands at 3.60 GHz which can be boosted up to 5.0 GHz for extraordinary performance. The processor is ideal for multitasking, streaming, gaming, and even video editing because of its high processing power. The processor features the same number of cores and threads as Ryzen 2700X, but the performance of the i9-9900K is far better than Ryzen because of its better single-core performance. It has a 16 MB 3 Lira fast cache memory to further improve its performance. The solder thermal interface material is used in the production of this processor that helps to prevent excessive temperatures. So, if you are using a good cooler while overclocking your processor, the cooler will easily sink out all the heat, and the processor's build material will contribute to its lower temperature, resulting in optimized performance. There are numerous pores on the CPU that can lead to its overheating. However, you can buy a good cooler to keep temperatures maintained while overclocking the CPU. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Halfway of my listed number 5. Intel Core i7-9700K. This is another high-powered 9th gen processor by Intel that features 8 cores and threads. The processor has a base frequency of 3.60 GHz which can be boosted up to 4.90 GHz for turbo performance. The processor is one of the best Intel CPU for streaming and gaming for 4K gaming when combined with a decent GPU. The processor also features a 12 MB Intel Smart Cache memory to enhance the overall performance. The heavy games that require a lot of data processing in the background will benefit from this processor. However, the gaming performance of this processor is pretty good, but it still lacks multitasking. Due to just 8 cores, it will not be able to carry heavy tasks smoothly such as video editing, etc., but it works fine for 1080p streaming and 4K gaming when combined with a GPU. The processing speed can be further pushed to its limits with the help of Turbo Boost 2.0 0. If you are low on budget, then you can consider buying a Core i7 to 9700K processor for gaming and some streaming. However, it is not an ideal option for video editing and other multitasking. If you are thinking of a live stream, then this processor can provide good performance with 1080p at 60 FPS live streaming. Coming in at number 4 of my list. AMD Ryzen 9 3900X12 core. New streamers often look for something that provides value in return for their spendings. If Ryzen 3950X was quite expensive for you, then you can consider 3900X from Ryzen 9 series that offers value for the money. This is another AM4 socket processor with multitasking capabilities. It features 12 cores and 24 threads, which are quite decent if we compare its price with 3950X. The base clock frequency of this processor is up to 3.8 GHz with a max boost clock capacity of up to 4.7 GHz. The cost of Core i9 9900K and Ryzen 9 3900X processor is almost the same, but this particular processor is better for streaming purposes because it has 50% more cores and threads than the Intel processor chip. However, the Core i9 9900K processor is still ahead in gaming performance, but Ryzen takes the game in the multitasking area. The Ryzen 9 3900X is not as good as its later model, which is 3950X, but it's still value for the money, while 3950X is a little expensive. There is also a Wraith Prism cooler included that further improves the performance of the Ryzen processor. If your preference is better gaming performance, then Core i9 9900K is a straight winner, but the multitasking capabilities there are not as good as the 3900X processor, making it a considerable option for streamers. At number 3. AMD Ryzen 9 3950X16 core. If you are looking for the best Ryzen CPU for streaming and gaming, then nothing can beat AMD Ryzen 9 3950X. The Ryzen 9 3950X features 16 cores to guarantee its unbeatable performance. The higher clock speed and 32 threads on this processor are specifically made for heavy performance, whether it's streaming, editing, or gaming. Moreover, it smoothly runs almost all of your streaming software, including OBS Studio or even Twitch's own streaming software. It runs on an AM4 socket that further makes it a better choice over other processors. The socket allows them to be used with Psi 4.0. The GAMEC enhances your gaming performance with a fast 72 MB cache capacity. The GAMEC is an on-chip memory that boosts your game performance by 100%. The processor is based on a 7nm Zen 2 architecture, making it a better and quieter choice for gamers and streamers. You can easily pair a liquid cooling system with your Ryzen processor to keep temperatures down while enhancing the overall performance. The max boost clock capacity of this processor stands at up to 4.7 GHz, which is quite decent when paired with its 16 cores. The 1 Lira cache memory of this processor is 1 MB, while the 2 Lira cache stands at 8 MB to ensure faster processing. However, the processor is quite powerful, but one of its downsides is its pricing. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Coming at number 2. AMD Ryzen 7 5800X8 core. If your pockets are not deep enough to buy a top-of-the-line processor, but you still want to stream your favorite games on Twitch or other channels, then Ryzen 7 5800X is probably a budget-friendly and performance-oriented choice. This processor is based on Zen 3 architecture, just like other flagships from the Ryzen 5000 series. The processor features a number of 8 cores and 16 threads, which is good enough for multitasking and streaming at HD quality. If we compare the benchmark scores of Ryzen 5000 series with some other top-notch processors by Intel, then Ryzen seems to be a clear winner, where Ryzen 9 5950X takes the trophy with the highest multi-core points, while our budget-friendly Ryzen 7 5800X still manages to win the 6th spot, which is pretty impressive at such price point. The base clock frequency on Ryzen 7 5800X falls around 3.8 GHz, while the maximum boost capacity is up to 4.7 GHz. The processor is unlocked, and users can overclock it by using AMD's Ryzen Master utility to keep it optimized. A 32 MB of 3 lira cache further facilitates the user with fast access to memory. The TDP is around 105W, which is the same in most processors in the Ryzen 5000 series. And number 1. AMD Ryzen 9 5950X16 core. If you want a top-of-the-line processor for streaming purposes, then AMD Ryzen 9 5950X is a go-to beast option. The Zen 3 architecture of 5950X takes its performance to the sky, as previously seen in Ryzen 5 5600X and Ryzen 7 5800X. The processor also matches the performance of Intel's flagship processors, and it even beats Intel in some scenarios. The 16 cores and 32 threads make Ryzen 9 5950X the top model in the whole 5000 series, making it a superior choice for pro streamers. The base clock frequency of this processor falls at 3.4 GHz, which can be boosted up to 4.9 GHz to maximize the performance. Another considerable point is the TDP of this processor, which is just 105 watts. It was expected to be higher, but AMD manages to keep it compatible with some low-end, yet popular motherboards such as the B450 and A520. Streamers constantly need to shift their tabs for multitasking, and this Ryzen 9 5960X excellently handles all the multitasking strain for a smooth and lag-free experience. A 32 MB 3 lira cache further facilitates the users by reducing the need for excessive access to the memory. The processor remains cool with a reliable cooler, but temperatures can still reach a maximum of 90 degrees centigrade. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel, share this video and hit the like button.